I know you both have been traveling and doing a lot of things, so we really appreciate you guys coming out to San Diego to be with our audiences.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yes. Each other 6 years? I can't remember anymore. We met on set.
Okay,
in the middle of nowhere, as the only Asians.
Calhoun, Georgia.
So we became friends.
That'll bond you together. Yeah. So what was the combination of you guys deciding to work together on this project in particular?
I just wanted to make a movie, and we ended up moving in together. Pretty much that. I'm tired of working on other people's stuff. I wanted to write and direct a movie, and Osric wanted to make his own stuff, so it came from that.
Yeah, I think the main impetus was we were both at the same place in our careers where we're like, well, we want to take the next step. I was tired of working on these projects that I didn't really like. Andrea had been wanting to direct for as long as I've known her, and it came to the point where I'm like, oh, you want to direct, I want to produce and act, let's just do that. And we found all these friends that wanted to do similar things, and just brought them on board.
That's great. So this is your first feature film, is that right?
Yes, first one.
Remarkable. It's great. What is it about this story in particular that you decided was going to be a good venture for your debut feature film?
Initially, we had another film we were trying to make, and that was how we brought Chris on board. But the movie, once we started developing it, just started to get too massive with casting, and it just started to blow up immensely. So then Osric and I circled back, and we're like, what's a movie we can make with no money? Small thing, and we came across a story that focuses on my experiences. I'm homesick constantly. Oh God. And I just wanted to go home, so that was where it started. He asked what I wanted to do. I said I wanted to go home. So we made a movie in the Philippines, and focusing mostly on the immigrant story, because I'm an immigrant myself. Osric is. We're both not from America. I've lived in 4 or 5 different countries my whole life, so it's accumulation of that and all of our friends' stories, like Chris and Dante and Yoshi, just everyone's stories combined together.
Yeah, so it was 2 things. One was a story that we all related to and connected with, but the more important thing was it was the cheapest idea we could come up with.
That's a common theme I'm running into with a lot of our filmmakers. It's like, what's the most affordable way to do this?
I mean, you kind of have to use your resources, right? Like, I would have loved to make a $100 million movie as my first film, but at the same time, probably not. That's a lot of pressure.
This film you wrote in a month around, is that right?
First draft.
The first draft was a month.
Yes. So the timeline came together. Dre took me to Sundance for the first time last year. That was the end of January. We ended up moving together February 1st, right? As soon as we got back, we found a place the day after we got back. We moved in February 1st. And there was so much excitement after Sundance, and I kept saying, okay, let's come back with the film next year. The deadline's here, which means we do post here, which means we shoot here, which means we prep here, which means can you write a script in a month? And she did it. And we kept going from there.
That's great. And so I'm interested because, I mean, this film, at least for me, is the way you're able to distill these really, powerful, moments of isolation and things, these like really small, like, sound bites. Like there's a couple lines where she says things like, I really thought that coming back here would feel a lot more like coming home, and I feel like I have to hide so much of myself. Everyone expects me to be the same person I was before I left. It's like this is so perfectly like hits me like right in my heart. Like that's something that I feel I know I do, and lots of people feel too. For you, when you're writing this, like what's that like for you to pull these moments and try to distill these really personal things? It feels like in short amount of time.
Initially, it kind of really sucked because it made me upset writing the script. I'm constantly reflecting on how much I want to be home, either in England or the Philippines. So, at first it sucked, and then I realized, I don't really like films that aren't honest. For us, it doesn't matter the genre of film or the story we're telling, as long as we're being completely honest with our audience and with our stories. So just that's one thing I've said constantly is, every time I go back to the Philippines or to the UK, or even when I come back to Los Angeles, I feel this pressure to be something that they think I am when I'm trying to navigate myself in the world. And it's hard enough just being a human being. On top of it, you have to be mixed race, and on top of it, you have to be an immigrant, and you just never feel you're one with anything. So just touching up on the personal stuff was really hard. But at the same time, I had a very good support team. Osric was, thankfully my producer lives with me, so anytime I just had like a really hard time, he'd come in and talk me out, like, you know, talk me through everything, or I'd ask him advice on, you know, what's it like for you, you're Canadian Asian.
Right. Well, yeah, so connected to that, you're not only acting, but you're producing on this film.
Yeah.
Is this your first time producing?
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a lot of, I think we asked a lot of people to help out, and it was a movie by committee. We had to figure out how to do things we didn't know how to do, or we found someone that did. You know, and I think we were really resourceful in that.
Well, I'm curious, is it your first time doing it? Like, what's been the most like fulfilling thing about taking on that role that maybe that you haven't gotten in acting?
I am a very impatient person. I don't like waiting. I don't like waiting for other people. It frustrates me. I also don't like being a hypocrite. So if I'm waiting for other people to do something and I'm not actively doing it myself, I become a hypocrite. Therefore, I have to be the change. I have to create my own opportunities, not wait for someone to do it for me. And so the biggest thing that I've taken away from this is I can do this. I can create opportunities for myself, for my friends, for all these wonderful, talented people out there who might not be able to do it yet, but in doing so, hopefully I can inspire them to do the same, and in doing so, I can like launch a bunch of different industries and people starting these things for themselves.
Yeah. More is these platonic friendships between men and women, and it's really great to see. So I'm curious, what's that like? You know, it's writing that and allowing them to kind of be really intimate together in these discussion of feelings and what they're, you know, without necessarily needing them to be in a romantic relationship.
How many times have we said this is not a love story?
Yeah.
The hardest thing I've had to do with this film is convince everyone, including the financiers, that this is not a love story. Men and women can be friends. There are certain reasons why scenes don't exist in the film. Last night at our other screening, two guys asked me, why is there no scene when he gets her number? And I thought, first of all, I'm a millennial, so I'm just going to DM you and video call you. That's normal for us. And secondly, if I had a whole moment of him going, hey, can I have your number? Then everyone's going to be so focused on romance. So it's just, I just don't want that. And, you know, so many of us have friends that are male or female or trans or whatever. I just don't find it necessary to always make it romantic. I mean, there is a slight romantic feeling there, but I think it's just because the two of them have a love for home. But also one of the biggest things in the Philippines, Filipino cinema with a male and female is always so focused on romance. And it's great, it's lovely and everything, but I just want something else. I want to promote that it's okay to have male female friends in films. It's totally normal, and it's just, it was a struggle, but you know, I feel like we were able to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. What you're trying to play with as you're putting that together?
That came just about with editing. Brian, who I wish he was here, but he's really busy with another show. He really pushed for isolating them because we needed to create the sense of isolation with your culture and with yourself. And also, just after living with Osric, we see each, even though we live together, we've seen each other how many times this year? Not that much. And we spend so much quality time when we're together. We're together for maybe 4 days this past couple months.
Yeah.
And it just feels much more natural to do that. I mean, I don't know, the structure just came very organic with focusing on that. I also didn't want to have them together too much because then I would lose my sense of culture isolation and people isolation.
The film is really great too because it's a lot of, you know, still camera shots and a lot of room around the characters. And it really, you can feel that isolation in there. Can you talk a little about your style and like kind of what you were trying to encompass with that?
The style of shooting came mostly from just watching a lot of other filmmakers I admire. When I first saw Mr. Robot, they did that with the headroom, and then I love Wong Kar-wai's work with Christopher Doyle, like all the way that they frame everything. I think the biggest thing that my electrician, my gaffer, he spent every time whenever we'd set up a shot, he'd ask, would I print this? And if he wouldn't want to print it, he wouldn't want to shoot it. So that was how we really structured every shot. We tried our best, at least 90% of the film, to make it where he would want to print it on frame. But just, I think it was Chris. I had to spend a lot of time convincing Chris, like, this might work. Just work with me on it. Let's give like 10 feet of headroom, it's fine.
Can you talk about what your relationship is with food in relation to how it's your identity and like how those two kind of things?
Well, Generally speaking, I like to snack a lot, so that's my relationship with food. I end up traveling quite often, staying in hotels by myself, and that's my life when I do. My first big job, I just bought all these snacks in my hotel room, and I was just watching DVDs, like, just stacks and stacks of chips and stuff, and I gained a lot of weight. So I'm trying not to do that. But in terms of relationship with food, my grandparents, before they died, I couldn't really have a full conversation with them. And it's one of those things that I do regret. But the food is the one thing that kind of brings it together. My grandma used to make congee, right? And so that was our thing. And then every time we go, even if you don't say anything, you would just sit together for a meal. And I think it's such a communal thing that brings people together. Even with these shared emotions, with like the sense and just the actions of doing it, it's something that you do together. So you're communicating in just different ways than language. This was one of those cool things. We didn't know any actresses in the Philippines. We did our research and we had dream list, top 10. We reached out to the 10 through our local producer Joanne, and all 10 of them said yes. It blew our minds. But we took up the first person who said yes, which was our second choice. And then 4 days before we started shooting, she, through some weird conflict and contractual things, she had to back out. And so we had to go back to our first choice, which was Rhian. So we signed Rhian on the day before we started, which is not preferable, but worked out. Yeah.
Yes, that was very intentional. That is how I was raised, with a mixed race family, and I would say 100% of the people I went to high school with were all raised that way. So, you write what you know, and there's one thing I always mention when I'm watching Filipino cinema that leaves the Philippine waters. You guys never really get to see the cosmopolitan side of us. The movies that leave the Philippines are always about either poverty or the beaches. But we have, drugs, poverty, the beaches. And we actually have heaps of cinema that's not that. There's just a lot of other things that focus on that. And I felt, okay, if I'm going to make an international Filipino film, I might as well try to do that and show everyone the other side. Like, I have a lot of my friends who go, I didn't even know Manila was a cosmopolitan city. I was like, yeah, dude, we're pretty modern over there. We have, our version of Lyft.
Yeah, when I went to the Philippines for the first time, I just got a slew of texts, especially from my mom, of be careful, you might get kidnapped and have your head chopped off. I don't know why that was a thing. I think there was probably a very publicized incident, but when I went there, for me it was the fruit that really stuck out. I love the fruits and the tropics, and I think I had 6 mangoes a day. And I spent a lot of time in the bathroom, but it was worth it. But there, of course that exists, but the other side, I did not know. Some places felt like New York or London or LA, and it was just this beautiful mixture of all these things that I think was really exciting for us to be able to share with our friends here and the rest of the world.
This actually gets brought up a lot off of Q&As, but a lot of people have some discrimination towards people like me and you who live over there. If you have one white parent and one Asian parent, then they give you the Stanley Kubrick, I don't want to do the joke, but that,
Do the joke.
what is it, Full Metal Jacket thing? I get a lot towards people like me, and I wanted to show people that yes, you can have a white dad or a white mom and an Asian parent fall in love. Like Jenny did purposely do that for that specific reason, because I'm tired of it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'm constantly exhausted. I haven't actually recovered from that. I admire a lot of director DPs. I think it's totally possible, Rhian and Steven Soderbergh, they do it. I think the biggest thing I made sure is that I did not camera operate. Usually when I'm a DP, I'll operate, but when I'm directing DPing, I had to get a camera operator so I could focus. And I did ask the guys when we were creating our team if we can fly in my 2 guys that would work with me for 10 years, solely because if I didn't have time, they knew instantly. They've done scenes for me before, and if I didn't have time to light it, they go, no, we know how you do this, so we've got it. So they'll set it up how I want it, I'll tweak it a bit, but I think the biggest thing I needed in order to achieve directing and DPing was having a team that's done this with me for ages, so I could silently communicate. And also, thankfully, all my producers are amazing actors, so they would come in as acting coaches, mostly Chris, because he wasn't on screen as much as Osric. And that helped me immensely to go back and forth between setting up a scene, staging a scene, working with my cast, going back to cinematography. It was a balancing act, but very fulfilling.
Cool. And so you're both based in LA, right? But I know you grew up in the Philippines, Osric, you grew up in Canada, right? I'm just curious, as you're traveling around and showing the film, what are the similarities you're seeing in the Asian American experience and kind of these things that you talk about in the film as it relates to the Asian Canadian experience or the Eurasian experience that you two both have?
I think the coolest thing about screening the film is one, to see how different every audience takes, just like the jokes or the non-jokes that people think are jokes, but how relatable it is to so many people. I thought this was going to be such a specific film for a very specific group, super niche, and then we've had all these people come up to us like, man, that really moved me, that because I'm so-and-so, or I just always feel like I'm the only person in this crowd of people, regardless of race or location or traveling anywhere. And I thought that was cool. For me, this film resonates with me because every time I go back home, I want to feel at home. I want to be with the people I'm around, but I feel like I'm a different person when I come back. And everyone is, I don't know. When I first came back to Canada after being away for a while, I felt like I was sprinting and everyone was moving in slow motion. And it was the same when I came to LA for the first time. I came from Beijing, China. So it was just such a different speed, and I felt like I was looking at everything from up here, and my friends were. And it was a really weird thing to do, and it took me so long to really come to terms with that, and I don't know if it was just a different perspective, but it was really isolating when everything else was the same, so it was, yeah.
Pretty much that. But I guess to add it, one of the wonderful things I found is a lot of Filipinos who've never been home have all come up to me saying, I think I'm going to book a trip. Which has made me incredibly happy because I want to book a trip every day. I just want to go home. And to hear a Filipino who has never set foot on the motherland, can't speak a word of Tagalog or Visayan, whichever part you're from, just suddenly have this urge to go home. And I get really excited for them and encourage them. And having them just sitting here for 90 minutes feel that makes me feel like, well, I did something, thankfully. And then the other one that I was very surprised this happened, but we've gotten a lot of acceptance from the LGBTQ +1, whatever, there's more, community because of this, using bisexuality without blatantly saying she's bisexual, because I love coming out films by all means, they're wonderful, but I just wanted to make it just a thing that's not questioned, and I've found that really gratifying to have just everyone go, yeah, that's cool, I appreciate that, you're not making it a big deal, it's just a regular thing in the world. So those are things I like.
Well, you've both been very successful with this film, so congratulations, it was really great. Let's give it up one more time for Osric Chau, Andrea A, Walter. Thank you, everyone.